Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Sheffield Allsport 1A 38mm black dial. This watch is available from sheffieldwatches.com for €172. This piece is a heritage reissue of the original Sheffield Allsport from the 1960s in 36mm made to modern day specifications. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a black cardboard watch box, which is protected by a black cardboard sleeve. On the sleeve we have the Sheffield logo in silver, so one removes the sleeve, and as you can see, this is the watch box. Again, we have Sheffield on the lid, and the watch box is basic. It's made from cardboard with foam inside, which I'll show you. Now just bear with me, I'm going to remove my glove because the lid to the watch box is a very tight, snug fit, and therefore there's a vacuum effect, and it's difficult to get purchase on it to withdraw the base from the lid. So as you can see, inside on the base we have a foam protective panel to protect the watch in shipping, and in the base there's a foam cutout panel in the shape of a watch. This does a good job of protecting the watch in shipping from any damage, so although basic, it does suffice, and I think it's acceptable, bearing in mind this is a low tier price point piece at only €172. So just bear with me, I'll put my glove back on and then we'll continue. With regards to the items that come with the piece, one only gets this item, which is a printed leaflet, and it details the owner's instruction manual. So there are 4 clear steps with clear, concise instructions in English detailing the operation of the movement use, which is the Seiko Caliber NH35A automatic. So it details setting the time, manual winding, and setting the date complication. There's also a contact email if you want to make a warranty claim, j@sheffieldwatches.com. And also at the footer of the leaflet we have the terms and conditions of the 12-month international warranty. I'd like to see Sheffield Watches improve upon this, because this is basic, although it does suffice. I'd like to see a printed owner's instruction manual booklet with clear, concise diagrams, because one thing that's missing from this instruction leaflet are diagrams. And although the 4 steps are clear and concise in English, they detail how to manually wind, set the time, set the date, which is useful. There are no diagrams of the crown positions, for example, and I think this could be improved upon. Terms and conditions of the 12-month international warranty are good enough, but again, I'd like to see a warranty card included. For example, with the terms and conditions of the 12-month international warranty on the warranty card, date of purchase, serial number of the piece, and also the reference number of the piece, Allsport 1A. And they could also add a QR code, which could be scanned with an Android or iPhone to download the owner's instruction manual as an alternative to a printed booklet. So room for improvement, but good to get some instructions and the warranty terms and conditions included. 12-month warranty is acceptable. It's the industry standard for a low tier piece at this price point, €172, but I would like to see Sheffield Watches update this or improve it to a 2-year international warranty, because that would further enhance the piece. So as I've detailed, this Allsport 1A 38mm black dial version is a heritage reissue of the original Sheffield Allsport from the 1960s. So the thing to note is, the original Allsport from the 1960s was 36mm diameter, which by today's standards in 2025 would be considered undersized and too small. Sheffield have made the correct decision by upgrading it or updating the size from 36, the original size, to 38, which is a more contemporary 2025 size. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 38mm case diameter, we have a lug-to-lug measurement of 45.7mm, a thickness of 12.6mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The vintage rubber tropic style strap tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the buckle and tang. Solid 316L grade stainless steel buckle and tang. Beautiful lustre to the top side, underside and flanks to the brush satin finishing. Nice heavy gauge to it. No sharp edges, no sharp corners. However, the production cost-cutting measure of a sterile buckle has been used, and this is a disappointment at this price point. The industry standard in the low tier at this price point is a signed buckle and tang. So I'd like to see this updated with an engraved, high-definition engraving of the Sheffield Tex logo. That would make it more aesthetically pleasing, but quality of the finishing is good. No sharp edges, no sharp corners, nice heavy gauge to the buckle and tang. I like the vintage rubber tropic style strap, because the original Allsport from the 1960s also used tropic rubber straps like this, and this does fit the aesthetic of this being a heritage reissue of it. We have a flat sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished applied indices and silver mirror polished handset. I want to give due credit to Sheffield here, because when micro brands do heritage reissues of 1960s vintage pieces, they have to get the balance correct between vintage aesthetic, making the piece look like a 1960s original, and making it to modern day specification with upgrades to the specification. Sheffield have got the balance correct, because if you look at the dial layouts, it looks exactly the same as the 1960s Allsport. The indices are the correct proportion, the design is the same, the Arabic numerals are the correct fonts. Also, the handset is original to the 1960s. So they've done a very good job of replicating the original Allsport in 36mm from the 1960s, but upgrading the dimensions, the size of the dial, the indices, the handset to suit a 38mm version of it. But visually, it looks exactly the same. Also want to give credit to Sheffield for getting the tone of the Lume correct, because again, back in the 1960s, tritium was used, and then tritium was then discontinued because of its radioactivity, and it was succeeded by Luminova in the 1980s, and then from the 1990s onwards, Superluminova succeeded Luminova respectively, which we're all familiar with. C3 and BGW9 Superluminova are now the industry standards. But however, the original Allsport used green tritium, which was radioactive. The green tritium had a very aesthetically pleasing tone to it. This uses C3 Superluminova, but you can see Sheffield have got the tone of it correct, because if you look at the green tone of the C3 in daylight, it doesn't look white, it looks green. It looks exactly the same as 1960s tritium Lume. And that's perfect, because there's a perfect colour tone match between the applied indices, the large Arabic numerals 12, 9 and 6, and the handset. They have the same green tone. They don't look lighter on the dial or darker on the hands. They are the perfect match. There's no discernible difference. If you look at a 1960s Allsport, the green tritium looks exactly the same as this C3 Superluminova. You could not tell the difference. So it looks good because it does visually look very similar to the original Allsport. I like the handset. It has the vintage proportions and also the styling. We've got the arrowhead hour hand, and we've got the sword minute hand, and also arrowhead tip to the second hand. The hands are correctly proportioned. They're wide enough and they're also long enough. The tip of the sword minute hand extends all the way to the white minute ticks on the chapter ring, as it should do. The tip of the arrowhead second hand extends all the way to the white minute ticks on the chapter ring also. So the hands are long enough. This is excellent. Dial printing is high definition and crisp. Large white minute ticks on the chapter ring are sharp and crisp. They're not too thick and blurry. The font of the text logo is updated in Sheffield. Allsport is the original, as per the original Allsport from 1960, same font used. And we've got automatic WR20ATM to denote 200 metres of specification. So, just the right amount of information. The dial isn't too busy and cluttered and over-branded with unnecessary text and specification. Automatic and the water-resistant rating is correct. Either side of the 12 o'clock index on the dial, or the 6 Arabic numeral, we've got Japan movement, and that denotes this is powered by the Seiko Caliber NH35A automatic. So it's good. The dial is clean, looks exactly the same as the original Allsport from the 1960s, and I really like the green tone of the C3 Superluminova because it looks exactly like tritium, as I've explained. Date complication at 3 o'clock with a 2.5 times magnification, Cyclops magnifier as per the original. Legibility of the single and the double Arabic numerals are excellent. I like the fonts used. It does have a vintage font to the single and the double Arabic numerals. Legibility is good. The black Arabic numerals contrast very well with the white date wheel, and the Cyclops magnifier is correctly proportioned and also correctly aligned. The Cyclops magnifier is not too high or too low or too far to the left or the right of the date window, so they've got everything correct. Flat sapphire crystal is the correct choice because the original from the 1960s Allsport, that also had a flat crystal, but of course back in the 1960s acrylic was used. The benefits of this being upgraded to modern day specifications, sapphire crystal with AR coating is, needless to say, sapphire crystal is harder and more scratch resistant than the original acrylic used, and of course AR coating benefits the legibility and reduces the glare, as you can see. The aluminium bezel insert is excellent, and again I want to give credit to Sheffield here because subjectively some collectors would be critical and say they should have updated this to ceramic because ceramic is harder and more scratch resistant than an aluminium bezel insert, but this is where the balance is correct between vintage aesthetic from the 1960s and modern day specification in 2025. Had they used a ceramic bezel insert, it would have made it look too contemporary, too modern for a heritage reissue of a 1960s piece. The original Allsport from the 1960s also used an aluminium bezel insert with these 60-minute ticks, which are rather like a Rolex 5517 milsub. Now, again, one could be critical of it not having a Lume pip, which is the modern day specification. The original Allsport from the 1960s, the 36mm version, did not have a Lume pip. It just had a silver triangle as per this. So this is true to the original. And this will particularly appeal to purist Sheffield collectors. Collectors that have the original 1960s version in 36mm and they want a heritage reissue of it made to modern day specification in a larger 38mm size, but retaining the original aesthetic. So I think they've got it correct. Subjectively, I'm not going to be critical of it not being ceramic and also having a Lume pip or fully Lume triangle. This does look exactly the same as an aluminium bezel insert from the 1960s. Anodised in black, high definition silver polishing to the triangle, minute ticks, hour markers and Arabic numerals. It looks exactly the same as the original 1960s bezel insert. One notable difference between the original and this version, the 1A, is the original 1960s Allsports had a solid stainless steel bezel, which was gear tooth profile as per this one, but it was silver. This one has been black PVD coated and it does look very aesthetically pleasing. Black bezels were popular. Usually they were made from Bakelite in the 1960s, which was like acrylic, and the problem with Bakelite was it was prone to being scuffed and scratched because like acrylic it was soft. But this is solid stainless steel, which is good, but for aesthetic purposes it's been black PVD coated, and of course it's harder and it's more robust than using an acrylic or Bakelite bezel, but it does have the black look of it. So black PVD coating is excellent. Large chamfer, which deletes the sharp tips to the gear teeth, and it's very aesthetically pleasing. The black PVD coating does a very good job, and the coating of the gear teeth are done to perfection, so it does look visually very appealing, and the black bezel complements the black anodised aluminium bezel insert. I like it. I think it's very good, and it is a notable difference between the original. Purist collectors might dislike it, but I think it looks good. Case is solid 316L grade stainless steel, longitudinal brush satin finishing to the tops of the curved lugs. Flawless mirror polishing to the flanks. Nice large undercut to the flanks. So it doesn't have slab sides. It's low profile. Nice curvature to the undercut. No sharp edge to the undercut, which enhances the comfort level. 4 tips of the lugs have been deburred and chamfered very well. And there's a nice crisp bevel which runs the full length of the case, and that marks the transition between the top of the satin finish lugs and the mirror polished flanks. Quality of the case finishing is excellent. Brush satin finishing has a nice fine grain finish with a beautiful luster. Quality of the mirror polishing to the flanks is flawless both on the left and the right hand flanks. Very aesthetically pleasing case. Proportions are good. The shape of the case is true to the original 1960s Allsport, but the dimensions have been updated to 36mm by 45.7, which makes it more suitable for larger wrists, and also it does look more contemporary, so it's good. Visually it looks the same as the original in 36, but larger. I like it. So, with regards to the crown, solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, coin edge finished, nice large chamfer which deletes the sharp tips to the coin edge teeth. It's sterile with a mirror polished cap to it. Now, usually I'd be critical at this price point in the low tier, €172, of a sterile crown. On this occasion, I'm not going to be critical. So why is that? Well, the original Allsport from the 1960s also had a sterile crown. The crown was not signed. This is a heritage reissue of it, and therefore this will appeal to purist Sheffield collectors because it is true to the original. It's scaled up in proportion because obviously this is a larger piece at 38, therefore it needs a slightly larger crown. Thing to note is this is an enhancement because the original crown on the Allsport was made from brass, which was nickel plated. And this was a popular finishing method or material method in the 1960s. Often crowns were made from solid brass and then nickel plated to give the appearance of stainless steel. The negative of crowns made from brass, which is nickel plated, is with daily wear and tear, the nickel plating eventually wears off and it reveals the base metal, which is brass, and it's gold coloured. And of course the gold brass shows through the nickel plating when it's worn off. That's the negative. But that was the specification or the industry standard in the 1960s, brass crowns with nickel plating. Sheffield have updated this to modern day specification. This is a solid stainless steel crown, so rather than being brass and nickel plated, with daily wear and tear, there isn't any plating to wear off. This is stainless steel. It's better. 200 metres of hermetic seal is contemporary specification as per the original, and it's good. So let's test the screw down crown execution. Silky smooth. Minimal number of turns required to fully unscrew it. Perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. Coin edge teeth are grippy and tactile, easy to get good purchase. Proportion of the crown is correct. Large enough to be tactile and grippy, but not too large to dig into the back of the hand when you flex the wrist. So this is powered by the Seiko Calibre NH35A automatic, and when it's fully unscrewed, one can manually wind the NH35A to its maximum 41-hour power reserve. Feels nice and smooth. You'll all be familiar with the NH35A. It's one of my personal favourite calibers due to it being a reliable, well-proven workhorse calibre. Feels smooth to manually wind, doesn't feel rough or gritty. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up to its 41 hours. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. So when you rotate the crown anti-clockwise, you can see the date complication clicks over with a nice positive click. I like the large fonts used for the single and the double Arabic numerals. Vintage font, which does look like the font that Rolex use for their date complications. It's very good. Legibility of the singles and the doubles is excellent. The date window is large enough. Framing is very good. Doesn't create a shadow around the date complication, so the dial is not too thick, creating a shadow, which is a positive. The black Arabic numerals contrast very well with the white date wheel. Alignment is correct. Both the singles and the doubles are not too far to the left or the right, or too high or too low in the date window. I like the heavy, positive, quick set mechanism of the NH35A. It's something I really like about it. 2.5 times magnification is correct. Cyclops magnifies the correct proportion. It's not too large, but the alignment is correct, so it does a good job of magnifying the single and the double Arabic numerals. Works very well. Legibility is good. Visually, it looks exactly the same as the original Cyclops magnifier used on the 1960s Allsport. Pulling it out to the second click position hacks the movement. If you look at the arrowhead second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead. Therefore, it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with the Seiko Calibre NH35A automatic. So we're now in the time setting position. Feels smooth, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. Minimal friction to the gearing, has 24 joules, and you'll all be familiar with the NH35A. Feels nice and smooth, doesn't feel rough or gritty. Nice, solid movement. You can feel the meshing of the gearing, feels reliable and robust. Minimal backplay. When you rotate the coin edge crown, clockwise and anti-clockwise, there's an almost immediate response to the sword minute hand. I like it. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and you can see the arrowhead second hand begins to sweep around the dial at the characteristic 3 Hz sweep. Subjectively, one could be critical of the 3 Hz sweep because it stutters or judders. That's a characteristic of the NH35A because it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour. Personally, or subjectively, I prefer movements that run at 4 Hz at 28,800 vibrations per hour because a 4 Hz sweep is smoother. 3 Hz stutters or judders, 4 Hz has a smoother sweep. But, however, I appreciate for the majority of collectors, this is not going to be a negative. It's not detrimental to have the stutter or judder of a 3 Hz sweep. We are all familiar with it from Seiko NH35As. Let's test screwing it back down. Instant thread pickup. There's a perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. Quality control, build quality, tolerances, machining are excellent. This is a silky smooth screw down crown. It's very good, and bear in mind the price point. This is a low tier piece at €172. Screw down crown is stellar. Right, so let's test the bezel execution. 120 click unidirectional bezel, as one would expect. Gear tooth profiles are aggressive, so therefore it's grippy and tactile, easy to get good purchase on it, even though it is low profile. So even though it's black PVD coated, it doesn't feel slippery, feels grippy, feels tactile. Nice loud audible clicks. I like the sound of it. Sounds very similar to a Seiko 5KX. I like the loud audible clicks. You can hear and feel the click spin beneath the bezel engaging with 120 grooves in it. No lateral side-to-side play whatsoever. Feels nice and tight. It doesn't feel sloppy. Feels smooth. Doesn't feel rough or gritty. I like the even resistance. It doesn't get tighter or looser. So feels smooth all the way through the 360 degrees. Medium resistance is just right. The balance is correct. It's not too heavy and it's not too light. Feels lighter than a Seiko 5KX. Feels similar to a Steel Dive SD1953 or a Pagani designed PD1661, which you may be familiar with. That's the kind of resistance to it. It's medium, not too heavy, not too light. No lateral side-to-side play, but we do have some slight back play, which is disappointing. I'm just going to check it in 4 positions. Slight back play, again. Slight back play, again. Slight back play. So the back play is present all the way around the 360 degrees of rotation. Now it's slight. It's not major back play. I'm just going to check the alignment. One more click. Perfect. So the silver triangle as an alternative to a Lume pip perfectly aligns with the 12 o'clock index on the dial and the 60-minute ticks on the chaptering. So alignment is correct, that's the positive. No lateral side-side play, that's the positive. Feels even all the way through the 360 degrees of rotation, that's the positive. The one negative is slight back play, and it's slight. It's not a sloppy bezel, doesn't feel loose, doesn't have lateral side-side play, resistance doesn't feel too light, but it just needs refinement. Very easy to correct the back play. They simply need to bend the click spring more, and that will present more friction against the 120 grooves in the underside of the stainless steel bezel. So if they bend the click spring more, that will increase the friction or the resistance of the mains of the click spring engaging with the teeth, and that will reduce the back play. Very easy for Sheffield to correct. I would describe it as a minor QC issue. It's not something that's going to be difficult or massively increase production costs per piece in order to correct. Works okay. Sounds good, feels good. I like the sound of the 120 clicks, I like the feeling of the resistance, I like the lateral side play, feels tight, and the alignment is correct. So they've nearly got it 100% correct, just need to tighten up the slight back play to refine it, but feels good, looks good. Right, so let's look at the strap in detail. So rubber strap, which is made from nitrile butadiene rubber, NBR rubber. So to clarify, silicone rubber is softer and more supple. That's the positive. Negative of silicone rubber is it's not as durable and robust. It has a tendency to split and crack with daily wear and tear, especially around the spring bar end. So nitrile butadiene rubber is harder, that's the negative, but the positive is it's more robust and durable. Nitrile butadiene is more like natural rubber, or alternatively FKM floor rubber, which you will be familiar with, and I really like it because visually it does give the aesthetic of natural rubber, which was used in the 1960s for tropic rubber straps like this. This is a vintage tropic style strap, and as you can see it has the iconic tropic pattern to it, so fully perforated. Benefit of the full perforations is two things: allows for air circulation, which is good, also allows for sweat and perspiration to wick away from the wrist so the strap dries out quickly, and also allows for seawater to wick away from the wrist so it dries out quickly again. So it's a good design, but also aesthetically pleasing because it has a textured finish to the top side and the underside. Full perforations look good. They also make the strap soft and supple because it flexes. So this doesn't require any breaking in to immediately become soft and supple. The first time you put this on, it feels as soft and supple as a silicone rubber strap, but of course it's more durable because it's made from NBR, nitrile butadiene rubber, versus natural rubber, alternatively silicone rubber. Two keepers on the strap, correctly proportioned. They do look exactly the same as the 1960s Tropic strap, and as you can see, they give good adjustments. I'll just show you the underside to it because it's one of my favourite aspects. Tropic style straps have this grid textured formation to it with cutouts, as you can see. And the benefit of this is, as I've detailed, allows for sweat and perspiration to wick away from the wrist. Perforations allow for air circulation so it dries out quickly. Also allows for seawater to wick away from the wrist. So if you wear this watch for diving or in water for swimming, the benefit is it dries out quickly. Also very comfortable because although it has this grid formation, which is 3D effect with cutouts, it's very smooth. So this feels very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. It's a very soft and flexible strap. It feels supple, rather like silicone rubber, despite being made from NBR, nitrile butadiene. Very well designed because it's thicker at the spring bar end and gradually tapers down in thickness down to the buckle and tang end. So it's thicker at the spring bar end where it needs to be more robust, and that's an area where silicone rubber straps are prone to being splitting and cracking due to daily wear and tear, but this is more reinforced. It's thicker at the spring bar end, which is good. Nitrile butadiene is more robust. It's a harder material, harder rubber than silicone rubber, but they've tapered it down in thickness because they appreciate that at the buckle and tang end it needs to be more flexible, it needs to be more soft and supple, and of course it's more flexible, so it does feel like a silicone rubber strap, although it's thicker. As you can see, it's much thicker at the spring bar end, and then it tapers down in thickness and also tapers down in width. Proportions are excellent. It does look exactly the same as a vintage 1960s Tropic rubber strap. It does fit the aesthetic of the Allsport 1A. Stainless steel quick release spring bars are the correct choice because this negates the need for a spring bar tool. Had they used standard spring bars, it would have been more difficult because of course this is a very thick strap. Problem with thick straps like this, if they use standard spring bars, it can be difficult to compress the edge of the strap and compress the spring bar in order to withdraw it from the lugs. And there's a risk of slipping off the spring bar or the strap and scuffing and scratching the lugs with a spring bar tool. But by using quick release stainless steel spring bars, one doesn't need a spring bar tool, easy to exchange the strap. Underside to the head of the piece is concentric CNC lathe tool machined. Nice large chamfers on the undercuts to the flanks, and that deletes the sharp edges, and the tips of the lugs have bevels which deletes the sharp corners. Very well finished case. So let's look at the case back. As you can see, it's engraved with the scuba diver and the 3 stars as per the original Allsport from the 1960s. So faithful heritage reissue. Again, Sheffield deserve credit here, because with heritage reissue pieces, it's difficult for microbrands to get the balance correct, as I've detailed, between a vintage aesthetic of a 1960s looking piece and modern day specification upgraded to 2025 specification. This caseback looks exactly the same as the original 1960s caseback. We have the same scuba diver, same 3 stars, and the same fish. So the design of the logo, or the emblem for Sheffield, is exactly the same as the original Allsport. Around the circumference, we have the specification and reference number for the piece engraved with high definition engraving, and we also have Sheffield Allsport Diver 1A with the full reference number of the piece. Quality of the mirror polishing is flawless. Engraving doesn't feel sharp or rough. It's been deburred and chamfered very well. Around the circumference, we've got coin edge finishing as per the original Allsport from 1960s. Coin edge teeth have been deburred and chamfered very well. And the outer circumference is concentric CNC lathe tool machined with a beautiful luster to the satin finishing. It's not a deep bubble back case back, it's relatively low profile, bearing in mind this is NH35A powered, and this is good because this piece is surprisingly low profile. It's only 12.6. I would expect this to be 30mm plus because it is NH35A powered, but although it does have a bubble back case back, it is low profile and it doesn't add too much thickness. This is still 200 off hermetic seal, which is good, but it's nice and flat in the centre section. Benefit of this being flat and smooth and mirror polished is it enhances the comfort level and the feel good factor. The fit on the wrist is low profile, but also it feels smooth. So when you wear this piece for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day, the caseback feels nice and smooth. It doesn't feel rough, doesn't feel sharp and abrasive. Quality of the finishing to the underside of the head of the piece is excellent. Quality of the caseback finishing is excellent. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now just bear with me, I'm going to move my glove out of the way a bit. Now I'm pleased to report that this vintage tropic rubber style strap is long enough to fit my 8-inch wrist. I'm just going to select the correct size hole. So you can see, often when I review a piece on vintage tropic style straps like this, the strap is a fraction too short for my large 8-inch wrist, but I'm pleased to report this is a pleasant surprise. I can engage the end of the rubber strap in the 2 sliding keepers. There's actually enough to fit up to an 8.5-inch wrist. This is good. Sheffield have made this strap short enough in terms of the minimum number of holes to size it down to a 6-inch minimum wrist size, up to a maximum 8.5-inch wrist size. Easily fits my 8-inch wrist. So this is suitable to fit around a wetsuit, which was its intended original purpose. The original 1960s Allsport was a skin diver, and it was meant to be worn around a wetsuit for skin diving or scuba diving, and of course this is excellent because the length of the strap is long enough to fit around a wetsuit, even if you have a large 8-inch wrist. So 6 inches minimum up to maximum 8.5, long enough for larger wrists. This is good. Taper of it is nice. Now, in terms of comfort level and feel good factor, it's fantastic. The thing I like about this piece is it is only 88 grams. I would expect this to be circa 100 grams in 38mm on a vintage rubber tropic style strap. 88 is very light, even for a 38mm. The thing you will like about it, particularly if you have a smaller 6 to 7-inch wrist, is the compact lug to lug. It's 45.7. Now, you'll know from my previous reviews, 48mm is the perfect sweet spot. That is the perfect lug to lug because 48 fits collectors with a 6 to 7-inch wrist and a 7 to 8-inch wrist, respectively. So at 45.7, it is well below the 48mm sweet spot. On a larger wrist, you may think that the case is too compact. The curvature of the lugs is good, the undercuts to the flanks have a nice curvature, and the case back isn't too deep, even though it's bubble back profile. So it does wrap around the wrist very well. It does give the vintage aesthetic of a skin diver from the 1960s, but of course it has more wrist presence than the original Allsport, which was 36, and of course that would be undersized in modern day terms. Visually, it does have more wrist presence at 38. It wears more like a 39, even though it doesn't have crown guards. Due to the crown projecting on the right-hand flank, visually it does look and feel more like a 39. Does look like a skin diver from the 1960s, and of course we do have the iconic dial layout and the handset design of the Allsport from the 1960s. The aluminium bezel insert with the silver minute tick, silver triangle and silver Arabic numerals do make it look like the original. So I like it. I like the black PVD bezel as opposed to the silver original. The brushed satin finishing to the tops of the lugs and the mirror polishing to the flanks as per the original give it a tool watch aesthetic. It really does look and feel like a 1960s piece made to modern day specification. Again, ceramic bezel insert would have been a step too far with the Lume pip. It would have looked too contemporary, too modern for a heritage reissue of a 1960s piece. Aluminium bezel insert works well. Black bezel is a change, but I think change for the better because it looks good. Legibility is excellent, AR coating works well. So wrist presence is good. It doesn't dominate the wrist. I would say it's best suited to collectors with a 6 to 7 inch wrist due to the compact lug to lug. The thing I like about it above all else isn't just the lack of heft at 88 grams, which is a positive. It's the thickness. This is only 12.6 and this is a pleasant surprise. I expected this to be 30mm plus because it is an NH35A powered. That's nothing unusual. This is the correct decision of using a flat sapphire crystal as per the original. Now the original did have an acrylic crystal, but the point is it's flat rather than a double dome sapphire crystal or boxed top hat profile to the sapphire crystal. Had they used a double dome sapphire crystal or a boxed top hat crystal, one could argue that would give it a vintage aesthetic of an acrylic crystal, but it would have added 2mm of thickness to the piece and it wouldn't be 12.6, it would be 14.6, far too thick. This is the benefit of a flat sapphire crystal and a flat bubble back case back. This is only 12.6. Now you'll know from my previous reviews, anything below 13mm is the sweet spot because 13 and below will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. So at 12.6 it's 0.4mm below the 13mm perfect sweet spot. Needless to say, this will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff. So feel good factor is excellent. Comfort level is excellent. Nice smooth case back, doesn't feel sharp, doesn't feel rough. And the Tropic style strap is very soft and supple. It's not as soft and supple as silicone rubber, to clarify, because it's thicker at the spring bar end, and nitrile butadiene or NBR rubber is harder, but the benefit is it's more robust, rather like FKM floor rubber or natural rubber. So, correct choice. I like that the strap is NBR versus silicone because it's going to last longer. Does feel soft and supple. Visually it looks fantastic. It looks just like a 1960s Tropic rubber strap, so it's correct. And I think this is a great piece. Great looking piece, feel good factor is good, comfort level is good. 88 grams lacks heft and 12.6 is low profile. It doesn't sit on top of the wrist like a thick slab of 316 grade stainless steel. So this will appeal to purist Sheffield collectors that appreciate the original 1960s Allsport. Visually it looks exactly the same, but a larger version of it in 38. The only real notable visual difference is the black PVD coated bezel. The original was silver, but other than that, it looks exactly the same, just a larger version of it. Fantastic. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. Just bear with me, I'm going to do back up the strap because it makes it easier to hold the piece in the Lume test. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. So this uses C3 Superlume Nova on the indices and also the handset. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. We're clearly looking at 5 to 6 layers of C3 Superlume Nova. On the applied indices, the printed Arabic numerals, 12, 9 and 12, 9 and 6, and the handset. So, as I've detailed, what I like about this piece is in daylight, the indices and the handset and the Arabic numerals are all green. They look exactly the same as the original tritium used on the 1960s Allsport. Same green tone. There's no discernible difference. You cannot tell the difference between the original tritium and this C3. In daylight it looks green. Colour tone match in daylight is good. Colour tone match in the dark is good. You can see the potency of the exciter of the C3 is good. Even application, so we're looking at 6 layers on the indices and 6 layers on the handset. However, the Arabic numerals are fading quicker. I'm just going to charge this up again to its maximum because I want the camera tool to focus on the Arabic numerals specifically. It looks like there's a lesser number of layers of C3 applied to the printed 12, 9 and 6 Arabic numerals on the dial than the indices and the handset. So you can see initially the potency of the exciter on the 12, 9 and 6 Arabic numerals looks the same, the brightness, but the Arabic numerals are fading quicker than the indices and the handset, but that's to be expected because the indices are applied rather than printed and they allow for greater depth, so one can apply a full 6 layers of C3. Hands have a large plot or a large area, one can apply a good deep 6 layers. Printed Arabic numerals, I think they've got 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 layers on the 12, 9 and 6 because you can see they're fading quicker than the applied indices and the handsets. So I think that there's room for improvement. Sheffield could apply 5 to 6 layers or more layers on the 12, 9 and 6. Colour tone is the same, but not as deep. So this is the negative with printing Arabic numerals versus applied indices. Applied indices are deeper, so you can fill them in or infill them with a full 6 layers, and the hands you can infill them with a full 6 layers. With the printed Arabic numerals, they've got 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, I think, because you can see initially they do look the same in terms of brightness, the potency of the exciter, but what we're looking at with the 12, 9 and 6 Arabic numerals is they're fading quicker, and therefore the camera will struggle to autofocus as they fade exponentially with time. The indices are potent, handset is potent, colour tone match is good. The only room for improvement I would like to see Sheffield do is the Arabic numerals. 12, 9 and 6. I'd like to see more layers applied to match the performance of the indices, match the performance of the handset. But colour tone match is good. I like the green C3. Visually, it does look very similar to tritium. The camera's struggling to autofocus now because it's dimming. Just bear with me. So I like the green tone because it looks like tritium from the 1960s. And they've made the correct decision by not upgrading it to BGW9 and making it blue, for example. C3 is the correct choice. It does look visually very similar to tritium from the 1960s. So aesthetically pleasing, proportions of the indices are correct, shape of the indices are the same as the original from 1960s, shape of the handset. We've got the arrowhead hour hand, sword minute hand, and then we've got the arrowhead second hand, so it's good. I like it. I think the performance is good. Green tone is aesthetically pleasing. They just need to refine the 12, 9 and 6. So let's discuss the movement use because it's my favourite aspect of the piece. You'll all be familiar with the Seiko NH35A automatic, which is made by Seiko in 2 plants, both Malaysia and Japan. Sheffield are using the Malaysian version. There's no discernible difference between the Malaysian and the Japanese made version of the NH35A. Quality control, builds quality, materials and finishing of both versions are identical. It's been in service since 2011, so at this stage in 2025 it's a reliable, well-proven workhorse calibre. 24 joules, it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz, has hand winding and hacking which useful complications and a quick set date complication which, as I've demonstrated, works correctly. Stated accuracy of the NH35A is -20 to +40 seconds per day, so rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that Sheffield are doing a good job of regulating the NH35As they're using. This one is running consistently at +8 seconds per day. +8 is well within the stated -20 to +40, and it is accurate enough. They're clearly regulating the movements they're using in 5 positions to attain +8 from an NH35A. I think +8 is good enough. They could refine it further. They could make it more accurate to within chronometer accuracy of -4 to +6, but +8 is good enough for an NH35A. Correct choice of movement at this price point, €172. I like the reliability of the NH35A. I like the quick set date complication. It clicks over with a nice positive click, feels smooth to manually wind, hacking works well. Subjectively, the only negative to it, and this is subjective, is the stutter or judder of the 3 Hz sweep. As I've detailed, I prefer the smoother sweep of a 4 Hz movement, but this is subjective. I think it's a good movement. I like the reliability and the accuracy and the durability of it above all else. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meets 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So low tier piece, price point is €172. I'm going to declare it good quality, and I'm going to declare the value as good. I'm not going to say excellent quality and excellent value, just for the one shortcoming, which is the backplate in the bezel, which is slight, but it needs improvement. I cannot say excellent quality and excellent value with backplate in the bezel. The bezel needs to be perfect execution. The other shortcoming, or the other negative, is the lume on the 12, 9 and 6 on the dial. I would like to see 6 full layers applied, the same as the applied indices, the same as the handset, to improve the potency of the exciter, because as I've demonstrated in the lume test, the indices and the hands perform well, but the 12, 9 and 6 Arabic numerals do not perform to the same level. So therefore 6 layers on the 12, 9 and 6 would enhance it. So if they reduce the backplate in the bezel and enhance the layers of C3 Super Lume Nova on the 12, 9 and 6 Arabic numerals, then I would upgrade it from good quality and good value to excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So I'm going to recommend it to your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Sheffield Allsport 1A 38mm black dial. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.